Welcome to the Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Keren Eldad. Settle in. We're about to make you feel really good. You know that feeling when you've been waiting for that guest and that conversation because you just know it's going to hit differently? Today is that day for me, and I hope it's that day for you. Welcome back to the Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Keren Eldad, and this is our Coaching Masters series in which we unpack the practices of the world's top teachers so that you can apply them right now in your life. And today's guest is one of the best teachers, Jessica Gill, here to share what I consider one of the best practices, the law of attraction, the art of manifestation. Jessica Gill is the Chief Content Officer at To Be Magnetic and the co-host of the Expanded podcast with tens of millions of downloads. She has, together with TBM's founder, Lacy Phillips, helped architect TBM's signature tools from Deep Imaginings, DIs, to the transformational portals, to the new book, How to Manifest. And you're about to see, she lives these teachings. She's also a gifted thought leader. You know how I know? I'm going to say it plainly. I've done more than 60 podcasts this year on my book tour for Builded. And the Expanded podcast episode where Jessica interviewed me was by far the most catalytic, the most profound, and the most incisive. It's led not only to thousands of book sales and hundreds of consultations, but people still meet me and tell me that they listened to that podcast episode and they downloaded it 3 times. So that's demonstrable mastery, and that's hopefully what we're going to dive into today. Jessica, my friend, what an honor to have you here with us.
So sweet. Thank you, Keren. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited that you're here. Congratulations on all your success.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's just a testament to the work. Like that, I don't even think about it in the lens of like success. I'm more so how many people can we impact with the tools that I know have changed my life and seen change so many other people. I'm like, let's just get it out there.
Yeah, that's right. It's a chance to serve. Mm-hmm. But there was also a you before this. Mm-hmm. And let's start with your origin story. You know, I just read How to Manifest. Yes. And then I listened on Audible, which I really enjoyed because you guys take turns reading passages from the book. And every teacher has an origin story, and I got a very large dose of Lacy's origin story, but not enough of your origin story. And that's really where I want to begin today, because I loved, in thinking about today's conversation, just listening to podcast episodes where you've gone on and talked about your story. Can you share your story pre-TBM?
Yes. Okay, where do we begin? I think it's probably important to know that I'm an East Coaster. I'm from Jersey. It's very direct, no BS. You know, it's not very emotional, woo-woo, fluffy, spiritual, all of the things. At least that wasn't my upbringing. And one thing that spoke to me really young as a child, I was very moved by film and television, like the way that you could watch a movie and you see something and you're like, I feel different. I want to be different. The world is bigger and more expansive than my little suburb in Jersey. And so I was really lucky to have a mom who was really encouraging of going after my passion.
Yeah.
She was like, do you want to go into fashion? Do you want to go into this? She went to school and went for business. She thought that's what she had to do. She wound up on that course, but she is ultimately like such a creative being. And when I think about her authentic self, it's like an artist in a whimsical forest. And she was like in this very corporate setting. And so I think because of that path for her, she had always instilled in me, like, go after whatever vertical that is. So I went after film and television and worked in that industry for over a decade, running casting departments, directing, producing, in the writer's room, like the gambit. And I kept getting projects that weren't a full body yes. They were like, yeah, we can do this, but like, where's that story? Where was that spark that got me into this field in the first place? And I had sort of a decision to make. I can essentially say no to every single project that's not that, or I can pivot careers or the medium through which this passion, this spark concept comes to fruition.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, I was getting really interested in psychology and spirituality and personal development. And I found Lacy Phillips' work and I was like, what is this? This is incredible. Like, I am so inspired. And almost immediately I started getting, we call it TBM's pings pings. And it wasn't just like, oh, you can do this with them or that with them. It was like, this course we can do that with, and this visual, or, oh, we need to communicate it this way, as if I was already on the team. I was like, this is really strange, but okay. And I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I could bring my skill set from film and television and production and all this stuff over here. And maybe I can help tell these types of stories, the stories of people who are going through transformation, like real live stories. And as it happened, they were hiring for a podcast producer. And I was like, let me just get my foot in the door in this role and see what happens. Within a year, I was already crafting workshops for them. And now I'm, helping architect and develop everything. So there you go.
You've transformed the game. I'm really excited to nitpick and dive a little bit deeper into this because it's what I do for a living, but also because I'm particularly fascinated with your story. As I was listening to you on several episodes of other people's podcasts, which will not be as magnificent as this conversation, I related enormously to your story. I've always loved film and TV. I'm basically a different Mindy Kaling, just a completely severely obsessed with sitcoms, particularly, and romantic comedy as a genre. And I never understood how much it informed the way I saw the world and the way I thought. My pathway into the work was through the experiencing of someone else's work. It was actually Jen Sincero's work. And I remember reading her books, and instead of reading them like a consumer of the book, I did exactly what you're describing. I found myself literally negotiating with the work, rearranging the work, asking myself if there was another way to arrange this work. When people find that happening to them, that's what the ping is. That's when you start to move into a full body response to the work. But there was something else that happened in your experience that was also something that I have in common, which was that your mom and you went to a Tony Robbins seminar.
We did.
Before the Lacey period.
Did,
Can you talk about how that factors into the spirituality boom?
Yeah. So I was living in Los Angeles, and my mom actually has been like listening to Tony Robbins tapes since he had cassettes, like back in the day. It's kind of interesting now, even thinking back on it. I remember one day she came to me and she was like, I wrote a check for myself for $1 million. And I was like, don't do that. We don't have that. Like, what are you doing? She goes, no. But one day I'm going to have it. So she was kind of doing like the Jim Carrey thing. And it's interesting how, like, of course, now I work at a manifestation company and all the threads were there. But we went to this conference, and the biggest exercise that was so eye-opening, that actually was the impetus for why I wound up quitting film and television and transitioning out of it. He had this exercise where you visualize your absolute dream life, like everything you could just viscerally attain. There's no ceiling, no limiters. He has this music playing, it's all of the stuff. And I'm like, wow. And I like saw this vision. I'm walking into my home. I'm feeling the freedom of my space and my day, and feeling so fulfilled of what I'm doing. And then the next day, he does an exercise where all of your limiting beliefs, all of your fears, they run the show. And they don't stop running the show, and they run your life into the ground. And I mean, almost everyone in that room was screaming and crying. It felt like the pits of hell. Like it was, what have you done?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So
I've been there. And it's one of the techniques that I've picked up. It's an NLP technique. It's just to mirror back to you, not only what your thoughts are, but also kind of cast it forward, show you what the cost is going to be.
Yes.
And if you really are in a position to receive it, it will terrify you. And that's what it's supposed to do.
And that's kind of what I walked away. I was like, I really don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
Because if any semblance of that path that was my fear taking the driver's seat, I can't risk that being, the path I go. And I was like, I have to stop settling for okay. And I remember going, that was over the weekend, felt life change. I go back into the writer's room on Monday, and I was like, how was your weekend? And everyone's like, meh. And everyone's bummed to be there. Yeah. And we're under these bright fluorescent lights, and we're in the office for like 12 hours, like writing and knocking stuff out. And I was like, there's got to be a different way.
I remember that happening to me too. And I became a little bit of a cult leader because I started to tell people, you should go to this, you should read this, you should do this. And this is when I started to think, all right, then I have to find something else. This is also when you start to look actively for something else. And that's when you found TBM. The podcasting opportunity doesn't just come about, does it? There's a little exercise in trust, a little leap of faith that happens before. Can you talk about that too?
Yeah. So through the lens of the TBM manifestation work, whenever you are calling something new, right? So if you even look at my story, I was in this one career path. I felt stuck and stagnant. I wanted this spark back in life. And so I was looking at all these different, we're going to call them expanders, but other companies or brands that were doing things that I was like, that piques my interest. That piques my interest. Like maybe it could be here. Maybe it could be there. And as you're doing that, it's almost like you have to get really clear on what the best next step is for you. So with the 2B magnetic method, we say something that's achievable in the next 6 to 12 months, not your pie in the sky, not your like, and tomorrow I'm running my company and everything is whatever. It's like, what is the best next step? And especially for people out there who are in careers that they're pivoting completely different industries, take an inventory of your skill set. Like, what are you good at? What comes naturally to you? What can you start applying maybe in a different field, but in a new way, right? And so that's where I went back and relied on all of my production skills. I know how to edit. I know how to produce. I know how to create a podcast. I know how to book guests. Like this is just, it comes naturally. I'm just doing it in a different medium. But leading up to that happening, I got what are called tests. And so they're like little, almost opportunities from the universe that are kind of leading you into, you could settle for this. It's maybe better than what you have now, but it's not the full picture thing. And until you get that full body yes, like, oh, this is checking everything off my list, you want to not settle for those tests. So for me, that looked like slightly better film and television roles. They'd be like a little bit more money and a little bit less hours and maybe a bit more prestigious, or it looked like my old boss from New York reaching out saying, I have this odd job for you. It's going to pay all of this. And I reluctantly and was like, oh, should I settle? Like, should I take these, at least to hold me over? But every single time I had done that in the past, it was the same cycle, just started over again. So until I got really serious and was like, all right, universe, I'm not fucking around. I am not taking anything else unless it's this. And that was the essence of my list at the time.
Yeah. So there's a huge difference. And I really love that you did that. You broke that down for people. There's a huge difference between walking out of Tony Robbins going, this is what's available to me and I'm not going to settle for less, to actually putting your money where your mouth is and passing the test. There are 3 different concepts you introduced here. And I know that one of the things that people really liked about the episode that we shared together previously was that we took the time to break down the concepts, and you will be able to read them and actually explore them in depth in the new book, How to Manifest. The first is pings. It's an epiphany that you're feeling viscerally in all of your body and that really means something to you. It's a message you download that makes you move forward. The second is expander. An expander is a person or perhaps even an organization that represents something that you want. And then they, through what they have already accomplished, are showing you in essence where you want to go. Your job, as Jessica says, is not to go, how do I get from here to Kris Jenner? Keren's expander, and happy birthday to you, Miss Jenner. It's also, we are filming on her 70th birthday. It's what's the next right step to get to that? And then the last is tests. And tests is a really important thing because this is something that I think it's very important to tell people. The second you start really like going for what you want, the universe is going to go, how bad do you want it? And essentially just put things in your path to make you prove that you really want it. I never felt more tests in my life than on my dating journey. The universe sent mediocre gentleman after mediocre, just a slight improvement over the last guy. And I kept saying, no, not until I meet Ryan. And Ryan showed up. And that's how you ended up with TBM.
So good. I think the thing too with tests is that, and Lacey was just talking about this recently, how you can settle for those things, right? You can choose to do it. But eventually you will see that it is repeating the same cycle, is repeating the same pattern. And eventually you'll be like, all right, I am so sick of this that my only way out of it is if I just start saying no.
My rabbi says that if you want a desire of the flesh fulfilled, enjoy. Have another helping of the neurosis. But eventually you will start going, this is toxic garbage, and I'm done. It's exactly the same lesson. I'm happy, and I hope that people understand that that's also part of the journey for some people. Some people are not so clear of vision, but they will learn through ultimately just wearing themselves down. So that's a really good way in too. Well, I love that you got here. You've been with TBM for 6 years now. What have you learned on the inside?
Oh my gosh, so much. I would say the biggest lesson, especially for people on the outside starting this work or have been with the work for a while, is how important it is to imbue your own wisdom, gifts, and like soul's guidance in doing so. In any self-help work, is that there are tools and then there's how you uniquely use the tools. And so much, I think, before being on the inside, I was like, oh, I have to do it in this way. It has to be very specific. If I do it wrong, I won't work out right. And what I learned was the more that I actually leaned on trusting myself, what was correct for me, even if it was variant from the path, it worked out so much better. The tools worked 10 times stronger. One small example of that is like a lot of our deep imaginings, which are our self-hypnosis meditation audios. A lot of them say, lay down and rest. And sometimes that works really well for me. But other times, going on hikes and going on walks and being active, it works just as well, if not better. Yeah. And so we'll try to remind people like, hey, make it your own, like figure out. And then someone wrote in recently and was like, I do this by folding laundry and doing the dishes. It works so well to like have something happening in my hand while I'm processing and going through all of this. So I guess the biggest insider tip is just how much you can make it your own and trust your own authority above anything else.
The authentic code. You fold many disciplines into your work, which I've truly enjoyed. Human design, for example. The idea of each one of us approaching this and hearing what we need to hear and doing it in the way that we need to do it is not only agnostic, it's actually also very friendly to this kind of teaching, which is non-dogmatic teaching. Your job is so fascinating because you've really allowed yourself through your authentic code to interpret the work and to make it digestible for people like me. Which has probably been wonderful for you. Just a new way to experience the work. Can we talk a little bit about the discipline at hand, which is the law of attraction?
Yes.
I want to tell you, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I came to law of attraction very late. I thought it was woo-woo. I'm not just East Coast. I'm East Coast intellectual. I thought this was absolute nonsense. And for, hippies from the other coast. Until I noticed that every one of my teachers was telling me to listen to Abraham Hicks. And I thought, all right, I'm going to give this a try. Esther, the great Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham. That was the freakiest thing they could have introduced me to because someone who's quote unquote channeling all of consciousness is the most bizarre thing as a concept that I could have encountered. But I continued to listen because, again, when a lot of mentors tell you the same thing and it's working for them and you trust them and you respect them, you do give things a shot. I found out 2 things. The first is she's very funny and I love funny. And the second is she's right. It's a very simple system for thinking. The way I see the law of attraction or the art of manifestation is a simple system for thinking or a code for getting what you want. Can we talk a little bit about how you see it and what about the work when you were introduced to it really called to you, and then also help us break it down because we want to also inspire people to check out this work and to be introduced to it. What's it all about?
So I think I love Abraham Hicks' work. I love Esther's work, like all of that, The Secret, all of that. One area I struggled with when I was first introduced to it is that there's no processing of the things that get in the way. So we like to think of it as law of attraction is the self-worth. Raising your self-worth to a certain level is going to manifest what you want, your subconscious self-worth. So law of attraction is more get into the vibration, get your frequency rising to a certain level, and you can match with something. In theory, yes, that's accurate. But for your average person who has all of these pain, shame, programming, limiting beliefs, fears, all of these things, they're not going to be able to access and ascend to that level in order to manifest something. So we go in and really break down what is in the way. And one thing Lacey discovered time and time again, especially when she was starting this practice with her clients, was that if someone's subconscious self-worth, which is how they see themselves, how much they value themselves, how much they see their own worth and essence in this world, they will start attracting situations that mirror that. And as they raise their self-worth, what they attract will start to align even more and more to what they want. So the trick is, or I guess the insider tip is that everyone is worthy. Everyone is inherently valuable and good enough. And it's society's pressures and programming and the shame and the traumas we go through that makes us forget this. So we all have this ability to connect with that remembrance of full self-worth in order to manifest whatever we want. The issue is then meeting the parts of us that don't actually believe it yet. And how can we see them and pull them apart and as we call it to be magnetic, unblock those narratives from our subconscious and be like, wait a second, I thought this and this and this about myself because of these experiences. Can I contextualize it differently? Can I look at it differently? Can I start to see myself for how incredible and amazing and beautiful and magical and magnetic I actually am? And as you start to really, truly see that and believe that and overwrite your neural architecture to get there, that is when you start to magnetize and the law of attraction.
I agree. One of the things I've really loved about your work, and particularly when listening to you on the podcast, is just that emphasis of what's missing. I've been struck. I've been an Abraham fan for many years now. I've been struck by how many people follow her for 20 years and don't understand any of it and are not manifesting anything. And I think that the reason is, and what you're pointing out is, the law of attraction is not serving you, here's how to get what you want. That's a very attractive proposition. It's here to really teach you how to lose the dead weight in the way that is making you muck up your own sense of worthiness that finally allows you to become magnetic. All the work, as Ram Dass said, and this is me paraphrasing, is all ultimately designed to help you recognize that you are enough. And the second you are enough, you are magnetic. That's the work. I've truly appreciated that. I pinged you, real ping, not TBM ping, after reading the book to say that what I loved the most was it was so methodical. I don't know if I shared this with you, but it was like reading Julia Child's The Art of French Cooking. Mastering the Art of French Cooking. If you haven't read it, it's amazing. It's a really hilariously written book by someone who genuinely likes to write and who thinks that everybody in the kitchen is going to mess up more than they hit the mark. And if you think that most people are going to be stumbling upon their mistakes, you emphasize the mistakes and you're extremely methodical. That's sort of how I read your recipe book here. You're very methodical. You're trying to help people catch every nuanced area in which just a little tweak is going to change the transmission.
100%. Because it can come in so sneakily. I mean, from 0 to 7, our brain is like a sponge. We're picking up so much. Everything is coming in at us. And we're essentially forming our blueprint of who we need to be in the world, how we're going to receive love, what we need to do to be worthy. And unless we can bring that into awareness, take it out of our subconscious, which is running the show of all of our actions and behaviors and thoughts, until we can bring that to the forefront, that is just happening on autopilot. We don't even recognize it for what it's doing. And so I think that's also the beauty of this work, is that you get to say, okay, I'm acting this way, or this is coming into my orbit, or this is what I'm manifesting in this moment. What does that say about my narrative? What must I be believing about myself for this to be happening right now? And where did I learn that? And how can I correct that? How can I overwrite that pathway? How can, when that instinct comes up to say, oh, well, that happened because I'm just not good enough, how can we say, nope, I see you. I see you wanting to do that, but we're going to correct it. We're going to say, why don't we try introducing a new way of thinking? And over time, that becomes the default.
Yeah. And some of the things that you do to help people to start to practically do that, because it's a little hard for people to just learn by osmosis and perhaps even through transmission, is the tools. Can you talk a little bit about tools like the DIs that are central to TBM, how not only how they work, but how you come up with them?
So it's called the Pathway membership. That's where we house all of the tools. So you can get in.
Yes, I am a member.
Yes. You can either access it through our workshops or the Deep Imaginings, which are all of these audios. And we kind of approach it from a few different ways. The workshops will take you through very specific lenses like love, money. Our challenges will focus on specific themes, inner child, etc. And then, of course, we have the bread and butter, how to manifest workshop, which is what the book is based off of. But inside of those workshops and sequences, you'll have a series of journal prompts, exercises that really root down to doing one of three things. One is unblocking, which is bringing awareness to that through the journaling exercises, and then very specifically in the deep imagining, that's where we can access that subconscious state, that theta brainwave state, and really see what's going on there and get that healing. And then we bring up this concept of expansion. Writing down, who have you seen has modeled this to you before? Do you have any examples of when you were calling in Ryan? Do you have any examples of the relationship that you truly desire? Did your parents have that relationship? Did they not have that relationship? How can you take inventory, especially of the 5 to 10 people that you are around the most, and understand the messages that you're picking up from them?
Yeah.
And then the third one is aligned action. So that's where the pings come in. That's where, you'll see the test, but also what is the actual practices that you need to be doing in real life to meet your manifestation. Again, back to a lot of the older models of manifestation, it's just, visualize, just sit down every day and picture the scene out. And that's great. But if you don't take any action to follow it up, if you don't communicate your worth through action, nothing's going to come through. You're not going to just sit and meditate and something's going to drop into your lap. You have to give the universe something to react to.
Yeah, that's right. And that reminds me, of course, of Tony Robbins' massive action. I remember the first time it was like that. And I started to understand that was one of my issues. I could think through pretty much everything, but doing was completely different. And that's where all of the hiccups were. But when you start to pair all of these three together, it really works. Another thing I really love about your work is it's a multidisciplinary approach. It marries several different things like internal family systems, psychology in general, somatic regulation, even human design, which, by the way, I discovered through you. I was not familiar. How have they shaped your evolution, your personal understanding of the work, and TBM's evolution?
I think one of my favorite things of TBM is the fact that as Lacey and I are so avid in our own healing journeys, constantly looking for how do we improve? How do we innovate? And for ourselves first as the guinea pigs. And then as we find things that work and we're like, whoa, this was incredible. I remember Lacey had her first EMDR session with her therapist and she was like, there's something here. Wow. And so we wound up meeting with Janelle, who's our EMDR licensed marriage and family therapist, who informs a lot of the work that we do on meeting and consulting with her. We're like, okay, from the most ethical standpoint that we can leave someone off without a practitioner there, what are some EMDR informed techniques that we could bake into the deep imaginings that would allow people to have a similar sort of brainwave synchronization, which is what happens in EMDR, which is why it takes the trauma that may be stuck and moves it from one side of the brain to the other, back and forth. That's why they have the tapping. That's why it's light therapy, walking, et cetera. How can we bring this principle in a way that feels guided and held and could leave people off? And what do we need to say and what can we not say? So we're constantly doing that. Whatever new techniques, whatever new therapies, we're like, let's guinea pig it. Is there a way to bring it into the work so people have access to these things? Because it's not easy to find a therapist that you are in love with. It takes time. And for people to be able to access these tools in a way that they can control the environment, the setting, the space that they're doing it in. They could turn off the audio and they're like, I'm good. They can keep going and listening if they need more of it. They get to really be the arbiter of that experience, I think is amazing. And even for myself, it has really created a secure attachment because I am going back to myself for that comfort, for that ease, for that regulation. I mean, even before starting TBM, I was very anxiously attached. Like in my relationship I was in, anxiously attached. And through the work, I'm like, I don't even have an ounce of that fear response anymore in me because I know that I come back to me for it. Whereas before I used to go to my partner, you have to soothe me, like, looking for that validation, that support, whatever it was. And for so many times, going through the DIs, going through this work, coming back to me, I'm like, oh, wait, I actually can regulate myself.
Yeah.
So that has been a huge blessing.
You're saying two things that are really making my heart sink. The first is multidisciplinary practice is useful when you yourself have indulged in the disciplines. There is nothing like firsthand understanding of the work through exposure. I don't usually appreciate it when teachers have learned something theoretically and have not actually tried it for themselves, and then they're weaving it into their work just for theory's sake. To really use yourselves as guinea pigs is what mastery is all about. And the second is something that you've said that has come up with many of the teaching masters that we've had here, Gay Hendricks and Byron Katie and Swami Asha. I mean, the people truly that you and I admire most. Is that the best way to teach anyone anything, to be in the position of a teacher, is to be healed yourself. We don't really have anything to offer if we are still anxiously attached. A teacher who doesn't understand their own worth doesn't have much to offer. I say the same thing about manifestation. If you're with a teacher who is only a practitioner but not really demonstrating the results of the work, then you're not in the presence of mastery. It's a real pleasure. And every time I hear Lacey drop a note about that alpaca, I know she's the real deal.
I think
That's the dream.
I think too, it is constantly being in the practice of the practice, but also not ever thinking that you've achieved and you're on the mountain of, everything's amazing. Because to be human, you are constantly in evolution.
That's right.
And so I also think when I look at some of like the most incredible teachers in the spiritual realm or in any industry, they don't necessarily see themselves as the master. They are still very much a student. And as they learn, they're giving back.
That's exactly
As they learn, they're giving back. And so that's kind of how I see it. I feel like I have endless things to consistently learn. But as I learn 1 inch, I'm like, okay, how do I give?
Exactly. The way I think of us is actually as nerds, mega nerds who become very obsessive about something and want everybody to hear about it. That's essentially what the state of arrival is. Like, for example, the first time I watched Modern Family and realized it was the best show ever, I had to tell everybody to watch Modern Family. It's exactly the same thing. But when you know it yourself, when you know it honestly, when you come by it honestly, you're in a different position to share it. It's a pleasure to see that. And now you have a new evolution. You just launched your new book.
Oh, yes.
What did you learn from that?
Authenticity. I mean, it's really interesting because we've been approached as a brand to write a book for a very long time and to put this out there. And Lacey really had no interest in being an author. She didn't want to write this book. It wasn't speaking to her.
Projector. Classic.
Yes. And she had...
Me neither, by the way.
Really?
Of course.
She had this moment where she kind of, said to the universe, look, if this is supposed to come out, if this book is going to touch people and impact people in this way, you need to make it as easy as possible for me. Like, I want to manifest the best support system, the best editors, like the people that really see it, like make this process as seamless as possible. And we really did call in the best of the best to come support and help and nurture and bring this book out into the world. And I will say the other thing, and you probably know this from launching your book and that entire process, there is so much, how do I want to say this? Like old paradigm systems, like you have to do this sort of rollout and it has to be 1,000 different things and just pitch, throw. And we're like, let's really get intentional and only write down on each of our individual lists. We're like, let's just write down the people we want to have conversations with. We don't want to just pitch people to pitch people. Like we want to have conversations that are going to be good, that maybe it doesn't even have to do with the book. We could talk about anything. That's what we're interested in. And it has worked out really well and also just been way more enjoyable.
It's a beautiful thing to already do that right out the gate. The way I ended up, so projector is a concept from, it's an archetype from human design. It's a style that I share with Lacey. And that essentially means we're kind of by invitation people rather than go get 'em people, which is fine. We're very nice anyway. And I genuinely have resisted almost everything, including, by the way, doing this podcast. And what happened to me is actually very different. It's a client was suffering and I wrote this for them. And then I didn't want to do guilt-free. When we spoke, you were like, do you have any plans to do anything else? I was like, never again. Absolutely never, ever again. This is the last thing I'll ever do. And then one of my clients died and I wrote guilt-free. It's always the question of the invitation. That's what makes it easy for us. And that's what allows us to have a really, really good, really authentic conversation.
So good.
Isn't it? It's so good. I'm delighted that you are already at the level of worth that knows this and that is ready to only have the conversations you really, really want to have. It's going to make it meaningful for all of us who are enjoying this from the side.
100%. And I feel like we just can't waste any more time. You know, our life is so short. Everything's changing so rapidly. So many things moving in the world. And it's like, if we're not going to put our foot down and say, wait a second, this is this beautiful life we get to enjoy. Why are we not doing it? Why are we being, like you talk about, why are we creating our own cage?
Yeah.
Why are we keeping ourselves stuck?
Funny you should say that. I've just said publicly that you're one of the most gifted interviewers I've ever encountered. And by the way, I've been on the Today Show. Do you see personal thought leadership as part of your future?
It's so funny. I am inclined to say no, but I think similarly to how the book came out, it will just become something that is like, well, apparently here I am. I wouldn't say it's on my manifestation list per se.
Aside from the Margot Robbie and the new YouTube channel.
Love Margot Robbie.
I love Margot Robbie, and that office is so bomb.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, she's amazing. But what is on my manifestation list right now is interesting because it's more about how do I get into the energy that I most love embodying, where I'm lit up, I'm excited, I'm creating something that I feel like has great meaning, purpose. And then I'm going to leave it up to the universe, but like make that as big and expansive as it needs to be. So if that's thought leadership, great. If that's, my YouTube, great. If that's whatever, like the container for which it's going to unfold, I actually am less interested in. I'm more interested in how is my energy feeling in the day to day in that creation process. And then I'm going to surrender the rest.
I really feel that. I really feel that. I really receive that. I'm going to just borrow it from you. It's a Jesus take the wheel type of moment. How is the work evolving in 2026 and what's up next for you?
Oh my gosh. We are going to be launching our end of year challenge. And we went back in and redesigned our inner child workshop, but through the lens of reclaiming the parts of our authenticity and our gifts that we maybe have left behind or haven't stepped into. There feels collectively and just feeling into our community and other people we've talked to, this sense of purpose, and not purpose in the sense of this is my career purpose, XYZ, more so purpose in I feel called to express this energy, this essence in this season of time in this way.
Sure.
And so I think with so much change and everything happening and shaking people up and stripping them of identities or relationships or careers, rock bottoming them in different senses, it's this call to like, okay, well, how am I here to serve?
Yeah.
What energy do I want to bring out into the world? How do I want to interact with people? How do I want to experience being a human? How do I want other people to experience me being a human? And what does that look like? What are my gifts? And so as a community, we're going to go back in through those inner child development phases and say, okay, let's, in our deep imaginings, nurture, give yourself exactly your dream childhood, what you always wanted. And in that process, what aspects of self did you leave behind? Because so many times our inner child holds the clues to our authentic gifts and passions that we maybe have repressed or not noticed or not seen. So I'm excited to see what's down there.
Me too. And as you said that, as you spoke about purpose so beautifully, about what was I made for, being that visceral feeling that so many people are feeling right now, I couldn't help but hear Billie Eilish sing it in my head.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so good.
And everything comes back to Margot Robbie. So you also have some personal things coming down the line. Aren't you getting married?
Yes.
To Daniel?
Yes, to Daniel.
That's very exciting. I don't think
excited.
anything is a bigger decision in life and a greater decision in life than marrying the love of your life.
It's really good. And we've been dating for, it'll be 10 years this July.
Muzzle tough.
Yeah, thank you. And we've been very intentional, of finding the right place and moving in that direction. And I've been engaged for a while now, but each year it's almost like we're getting more closer and closer to the union that we want to create. And I think for both of us, it's the utmost important to create a peaceful, beautiful, nurturing, supportive home environment, all of the things that maybe we didn't both get. And so it's been really nice to, have our dog and start emanating that and bringing that in.
Yeah, your dog, Theo. Thank you so much for bringing this clarity and for modeling the tranquility, the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom that goes into a platform as successful as yours and work as successful as yours. I'm going to link down in the show notes every single way to follow this work. Is there anything you'd like to invite people to check out?
Obviously, check out the book. If you have Spotify and Audible, I think they're allowing you to listen to it for free. Like, we just want to get the work out there. So check it out. And then we have our Pathway membership. That's where all the tools live, all the workshops. I would say that is the best. Depending upon when this airs, we have our end of year sale going on, so you can join at a discount or use my code Jessica.
They will have all the time in the world, as this is going to air in the beginning of December. So I'm thrilled, and I can't think of something better that you can give to yourself. I want to thank you for making this a truly incredible year for me. I spoke to more than 180 of your TBMers.
Wow.
That means I spent an enormous amount of time in consultation, but it was a real joy to get to know that this moved so many people and moved them to the point where they really wanted to speak to me. So it's a joy. It's a testament to your success. I wish you nothing but continued success. And I can't wait to celebrate in Austin with you the launch of How to Manifest. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Keren.
I hope you loved this, dear listener. I told you that you were in for a real treat, for an unusual look behind the scenes at truly something that's been created that has built an enormous platform. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe to our program so that we can continue to bring you more. And if you really, really liked it, share it with someone you love. Thank you so much for watching. Stay coached, and we'll see you next time.